We've been talking about the architectural blueprint for God's emerging world order, the divine principles that are the foundation stones for a new civilization. We've laid the first stone, the oneness of humanity. Today we turn to the second, a principle that is the essential tool and method by which that oneness is discovered and built. Without it, the entire structure is vulnerable to collapse. This foundation stone is the independent investigation of truth. If the first principle is the goal, a united world, then this second principle is the process that every single one of us must engage in to realize that goal. It's the divine methodology that applies to both science and spirit. So why is this so critical? Well, let's look at the world of science. When a scientist seeks the truth about the material world, they design experiments to eliminate their personal biases. They seek a result that can be replicated by any independent investigator, anywhere. The truth must stand on its own merits, not on the perceived authority of the person presenting it. This same rigorous standard applies to spiritual truth. We cannot be satisfied with inherited beliefs or swept away by emotional tides. We have to see for ourselves. Baha'u'llah gave us this command: by the aid of justice, thou shalt see with thine own eyes and not through the eyes of others, and shall know of thine own knowledge and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. This is the essence of justice. Think of a court trial. The jury is presented with facts of the case. They're not told, you must believe the prosecutor, or the defense attorney is the only reliable source. No, they are instructed to examine all the evidence presented and render a verdict based on their own independent reasoning and conscience. This is why mob rule is so dangerous. A mob is an unstoppable emotional force that railroads people into false verdicts. Think of Jesus and Barabbas. The mob, convinced by their rulers, cried out for the crucifixion of Christ. Their investigation was not independent. It was a runaway train of prejudice, and the truth was the first casualty. Today, you are hearing a claim that to many seems just as radical as the claim that a poor carpenter's son could be the promised Messiah of the Jews. You are hearing me say that Christ has returned, and that Joshua the high priest has come, fulfilling prophecies by name, date, address, and mission. Now you have a choice. You might reject it out of hand, based on your preconceived ideas. You can consult your clergy person, who may list all the reasons it can't be true. You could do a web search and find sources steeped in their own prejudices, citing why it's false. Or you could go to schooloftheland.com and learn why Baha'is under the covenant believe that it's true. The most powerful move? Do it all. Be the juror. Look at all the evidence from every side you can find. But to do that fairly, you must first fulfill a sacred condition described by Baha'u'llah. He must so cleanse his heart that no remnant of either love or hate may linger therein, lest that love blindly incline him to error, or that hate repel him away from the truth. You are being called to lay aside your love for tradition and your potential hatred for what challenges it. You must come to this investigation with a heart cleansed of bias, just as a scientist cleanses their experiment of contamination. This is not a passive process. It's a duty. Abdul-Baha states, every individual member of humankind is exhorted and commanded to set aside superstitious beliefs, traditions, and blind imitation of ancestral forms of religion and investigate reality for himself. The revelation of Baha'u'llah presents the spiritual framework for arriving at the truth. It provides the touchstone, the person of Baha'u'llah and his appointed interpreters. But it entrusts each soul to come to that touchstone independently. It protects the faith from splitting into sects, not by demanding blind obedience, but by championing an independent investigation that allows all souls to arrive at the truth freely. Of course, all of this is contingent on one thing: a sincere desire to know the truth. That is a flame that cannot be lit by force. So, we extend this invitation not as a demand for agreement, but as a call. Investigate, read, ponder, pray, compare the evidence against the standard of the Scriptures, then, and only then, render your verdict. Because the foundation for God's kingdom must be built stone by stone within the heart of every independent seeker. We invite you to continue your own investigation at schooloftheland.com, where you can weigh the evidence presented by the Baha'is under the covenant.